Welcome to another episode of Dawnversations. Today we have Heidi. Welcome, Heidi. I'm so excited to have you.
I'm stoked to be here, Dawn.
Yes, we were just talking. She's a podcast host too, which we'll talk all about your show, hostess. And yeah, we're here to talk about divorce, which it sounds like, womp womp, but it's a topic that needs to be talked about. Obviously, your whole podcast is about that.
Mm,
So I don't know if I want to start with you telling me your story, or I think I want to start with if somebody is listening, like they saw the title about it being about divorce and they're thinking about a divorce, do you have a piece of advice that you would just give out right at the gate if somebody's like, I really think I've had enough. I think this is it for me. Should I do this?
yeah.
Should I make the jump?
Ooh, oh my gosh, so many things already just flow on through. Well, first of all, to anybody listening, even if you're not divorced, stay tuned because the work that I do is actually called a comeback coach. And so it's really all about reclaiming the things that you lost. And we all go through loss in life or just the desire to pivot in life, right? And it's like this reclamation of whatever you think that you desire or the things that you've lost. And we can all relate to being in that space, in that place. Maybe it's like that midlife phase or that empty nester phase. I'm calling out very generic things that people can relate to, but there's all sorts of things, just wanting a new career path or whatever. But the comeback is really what I'm all about. So to anybody that's thinking about divorce, the number one thing that I would say is be careful of the narrative that this is the easy way out. Now, I say this with so much love and compassion, and I share this because there was a big part of me. This is all, by the way, so much of what I'm going to share today is in hindsight, right? I've been divorced and gone through my coaching certification over 10 years ago. And so a lot of these things are in hindsight, but I've had friends reach out and say, I think this is it. I don't know if I can take their personality anymore, or they've changed, or they just annoy me, or this or that, or this and that. And I'm like, that's fine. If you need to get divorced, you do what you got to do to reclaim yourself, but don't think that this is the easy way out because there is no way out. You're going to
Hmm.
be going through a lot, regardless if you're the person that chose it, or if you're the person that didn't choose it, or if you chose together. Honestly, what I've realized and professionally and personally, it doesn't matter. This is not the easy way out. And so in my younger years, when I was going through divorce, my husband at the time had we were sitting on a Sunday afternoon at our favorite place, drinking beers at the place that we always drank beers at on Sunday afternoon at our favorite picnic place. And he looked across the table at me and he was like, "Are you happy?" And I was like, "No." He goes, "Yeah, me either. Maybe we should get a divorce. I've never really wanted to be married."
Oh my God.
And I say it just like that because it really happened just like that. Now, after this came a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows on emotions on his side, emotions on my side. We didn't pull the trigger for several months. It was, it was a wild ride. But what I thought at the time when he said, maybe we should just get divorced, I thought, oh my gosh, this person doesn't want to be with me anymore. If they don't want to be with me anymore, I should just move on because I want to live my life with
Yeah,
somebody who is deeply, deeply devoted to who I want to be and the life I want to live. And if he's not excited with it anymore, I'm not going to go out there and fight for it or go to
right.
therapy or try to do all the things. I was like, I am a woman on a mission to just be like, I'll show you. And so I was in a very unhealed space at the time. Tons of insecurities came over the course of the next 3.5 years. I realized how I contributed to the decision that we made together, but it is the furthest thing from the easy way out than you could ever imagine. I mean,
Yeah.
my soul was shaken. I had never felt depression in my life, and I felt it for the first time. I was in a divorce ditch. And also for anybody who's listening who's not in divorce, your soul can get stuck in a ditch. There's so many ways that we just get stuck in a rut or
Hmm.
stuck in this spot in our lives where our soul just feels empty and a little cold or maybe just a little numb. And we don't know why, like I talked about some of the other phases in our lives. And so it's just important to know, like, just cutting things off doesn't mean that it's just going to be over. and you're just gonna
Yeah.
start fresh.
I love that. That was just like spot on because you did not know I was going to ask you that. And that was such a great answer because it is so true. And a lot of the times, uh, people can misjudge and think that it's somebody else's fault that they're not happy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's,
Yeah.
oh, he snores or whatever it is. And it
Yeah.
could be just that you're not happy inside, that you're not happy with your job, you're not fulfilled, or you're a stay-at-home parent and you're not fulfilled, but something in you, I mean, this is not talking, abuse or anything like that. If you're just like
Yes.
you've been in it
Yes.
for 11 years or whatever, and you're like, you suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be you suck, it might be like time to start figuring it out what you want out of your life before you it is a huge decision.
Yeah. I
Huge.
I wish somebody had said that to me because I kind of went, all right, well, all the things I just mentioned, but then I did not realize, like I said, how I was showing up to our marriage. I thought, so a little bit of point of reference here. We had moved from our house in Michigan. We lived in Michigan. I grew up born and raised there. He also was born and raised there. We met in college. We lived the party life, but also, got good grades, got great jobs, got married, bought the house, did all the things. He went back to grad school. There was constant variety and change in our lives all the time. And then he approached me and said, "Hey, how about we move to California? I got a great job opportunity." And I was like, "Ooh, I'm in my 20s, California girl. That sounds pretty fun." Even though all my friends, all my family, a huge part of my soul and authentic self was grounded in that space. So when we moved to California, it uprooted everything that I knew. It uprooted who I was. And it gave me this false sense of self and belief to go, okay, I'm going to be a California girl. What does that mean? I'm going to be a paddleboarder. I'm going to be a yoga girl. I'm going to drink green smoothies. I'm going to lose 25 pounds and like have no fat on my body. I'm going to wear like short shorts. I had this vision in my head and I can giggle now, but I had no idea. I hired this like Navy SEAL trainer. I went on this 2.5 year journey of just like crushing my physical fitness goals.
Wow.
And that's cool and everything, but why was I doing it? I never stopped to go, why am I doing this? And throw into the mix of that, he decided that he was going to start trying all these new hobbies and doing all these new things and discovering where he was at. And what I didn't realize was I wanted to be the California girl and whatever that the heck that meant because I wanted to fit in, I wanted to belong. I thought that if I could just reach this certain weight measurement and these abs and this size that I'd never seen in my entire life, that all of a sudden everybody was going to think I was hot shit. I was amazing. Look at how strong and incredible she is. Look at her six-figure career just like catapult and blow up. Look at that girl go. When in the reality, everybody that I knew and loved was like, look at that girl go. We love her. But I had so many insecurities that I was hyper focused on what I was supposed to look like and do to be this California girl that I didn't notice us distancing, distancing,
Mhm.
distancing, distancing. And for the first time ever, instead of changing our all this variety that was happening in Michigan, we had to stop and sit with ourselves because we didn't know anybody and we didn't
Mhm.
have any friends and we didn't have any family. So we were kind of finally, for the first time in our lives, zero variety, tons of consistency. We were like, what is this? Oh, now we're actually looking at each other. Now
Mhm.
we're actually noticing how each other are being. Do we like these versions of ourselves? And it wasn't until we got divorced and I started doing the so much healing work, I uncovered and discovered, whoa, I had all these insecurities that were repelling him, pushing him away. And the most unattractive thing about myself was that I did not love myself at all. And I thought I was like this confident, outgoing person, but deep down, I just had so much insecurity
Yeah.
um, that I was just putting on these facades. And it was exhausting, Dawn. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
exhausting.
and, I'm sitting here thinking too of your age, like, when you get married young, or
Yeah.
in general, when you get married, you do grow together, whether you grow apart or whatever, you're watching each other go through different phases and hormones and jobs and
Mhm.
whatever. I mean, there's so much change that happens too. Like, I know I would always say, that was not the person I married. That was the person I divorced. And
Mm.
I felt that way, and this isn't to diss him at all, it takes two. I felt that way because we were so young and we had 3 kids, like, right away, and
Yeah.
we both had gone through different jobs and just different life experiences and so
Yes.
much. And when it came time for the divorce, it was just that either some people stay the same or they change too much to where you're just not compatible anymore. It
Yeah.
seems like those are the only 2 things if you don't end up together. It's because
Yeah.
either somebody's like, "No, I liked how I was in my 20s. I'm just gonna stay in my 20s all for my whole life," or
Yeah.
like you going through personal transformations, at least outwardly,
Yeah.
and then you
Yeah.
just like you said, you're forced to sit there and look at each other, and it's like, "Why are we together? What do we like together?"
Yes. Yeah, what are we doing here? If we're not really happy on a regular basis, and neither one of us had said anything. If anybody looked at us from the outside and they'd be like, "You 2?" And we got that. You guys are getting divorced? Oh my gosh. If you guys aren't gonna make it, I mean, I don't know if we will.
How long were you
Um,
married?
we were married for 11 years.
Okay,
Yeah. So
that's a
it
good
felt
amount of
like a long,
time.
and I don't know about you, but I was so scared to get divorced. I was so scared to I felt like I was wearing like, the book The Scarlet Letter where it's
Mhm.
like you're just branded. I felt like I had a big letter D on my sweatshirt and I was just wearing it around and I was so embarrassed and I wanted to just put the hood on and, you know, and
Yeah.
zip it up because I was honestly like scared to be single. I was
Mhm.
like, "Who am I without this person? I've only done life with this person for so long." For
Right.
so long, my whole entire college, and then after college and growing a life together after that and buying a house and getting grown-up jobs and creating all of that. Like, I was so scared to be single, but what I realized is divorce unlocked, like, a whole new door to my life.
Mhm.
It exposed me. It was like an invitation to come on in and sit down and write the next chapter. And at first I was like, "Oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me, I'm damaged goods." I had so many mean girl messages in my brain all the time. But when I finally got help and started working with a coach to figure out what I wanted for myself and who I wanted to become and how to ask curious questions rather than like these damaging questions, I became, like, so excited about what the next chapter of my life was gonna look like, and I became excited about creating it all, and I always talk about the comeback because I'm like, the comeback is your opportunity to fiercely reclaim who you are and what you want next in whatever area of your life that you're in. So
Right, and
it's just like it's like choosing yourself again. And that moment where you're like, "I'm not gonna do this anymore. I'm gonna choose something else for myself," can be a really scary but also exciting at the same time.
mhm. Yeah, because you are really forced to figure out what your next steps are gonna be, where you want to be in your future, what you see for yourself. It's almost this is silly, but it reminds me almost of, like, when you move after you've lived somewhere for a long time, you're forced to, like,
Yes.
face all of your junk that you have collected, and it's like, "What am I willing to part with? I don't wanna take half this stuff with me." So it really is similar to that. And it's like, what do I want to leave behind? And what am I going to venture forward with? What am I going to take with me to start this new chapter, new me, new life?
Yeah.
I love that you focus so much on the comeback because divorce can be super scary and intimidating and sad and there's so many negatives with it, but knowing that you're setting people up for success, getting
Yeah.
them built back up, like, other people have done this, you can do it. You've got it
Yeah.
in you. It's a rough road.
It
It is a
is.
rough road. Did you
It
guys
is.
have kids?
We didn't have kids. Nope, no kids, no fur babies. So it was just us, which honestly allowed us to really look at where we were sitting when we finally were sitting. Because I think a
Mhm.
lot of times if you do have kids or animals or a combination of two, it's easy to get distracted or it's easy to go, okay, it's easy to add more layers
Mhm.
to the block. Like there's all these things blocking us from what we want for ourselves. And it's easy to just go, okay, I got to pay attention to that. I got to pay attention to that. I got to pay attention to that rather than going, I need to pay attention to what's going on inside of me
Right.
and taking the time out, like taking a pause, doing the time out and really allowing yourself to do the work. I always tell my clients with kids, I'm like, when we're working on this, the reason why the group coaching experience and the community is so pivotal is because we have real modules that we move through. It's intentional. It's like, okay, well, we're going to work on this week. We're going to focus on this. And I tell them, I want you to just take the 1 hour. You just need 1 hour and then 90 minutes with us every single week. And I want you to put it on your calendar like it is a critical appointment for your child because you know those doctor's appointments that you're like, I have to get my kid there.
Mhm.
I wouldn't want them to, this is for their well-being, this is for their care. You have to treat those moments of growth and healing for yourself just as you would those very critical appointments for your children who need that health and wellness. You need that wellness for yourself and it can
Mhm.
it can be as little as 2 hours a week, something to do life differently.
That
Something.
and when you say it like that, 2 hours of an
2
entire
hours.
week that a lot of people will not sacrifice in order to keep their mental health and physical health at prime condition. A lot of people,
Yeah.
I can't. I've got this, I've got that." And it's like, "No, all you have is you. And if you're
Mhm.
not your own advocate or you're not doing it for your nobody's gonna do it for you. You
No.
have to have yourself built up and strong."
And you know what a lot of people they won't like to admit it, but they will spend their time on? They will spend their time on what I call the distractors or the divorce
Mhm.
distractors, but you don't have to be divorced to use these distractors. On
Right.
overworking, right? Overeating, overdrinking, binging on Netflix, binging on naps. Maybe it's scrolling and trolling your exes. How many hours are devoted to social media? I call that trolling Tanya. That's one of the divorce distractors. Trolling Tanya is like, well, what's he or she doing? Where are they at? Are they moving on? And it's like all this energy gets poured into, and you don't even realize you're doing it because it's a coping mechanism, is what it is. But
Mhm.
it's distracting you and delaying your desires rather than putting all of your energy in just a little chunk of time. Do you know that most people spend about 16 months planning their one day of their life, their wedding? 16 months. Okay. And then I ask them when we have like a discovery call or a connection call together, hey, how much time have you spent on your healing? You know, it takes about 16 months to plan your wedding, right? For one day of your life. Not for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
for one event of your life. You spend 16 months. Most people haven't even spent 16 hours on their healing journey when they first start. I know it took me 3.5 years to even start doing the work. So can you imagine if you spent 16 months or even way less than that? The program that I run is 3 months long. So let's call it 16 weeks, even though it's only 12. Let's call it you spend 16 weeks instead of 16 months to start figuring out who you are and how you want to spend the next chapter of your life. Just the next chapter. How
Yeah.
exciting is that? Just
Mhm.
16 weeks when you spent 16 months on one day. Unbelievable. But we make up all these stories and beliefs that are like, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy. I can't,
Mhm.
I can't, I can't. But yet we can eat the pizza, we can drink the wine, we can go distract ourselves in XYZ way. I mean, there's a million ways that I did it. I did
Yeah.
everything that you can think of outside of drugs. Unless you count pizza and wine as a drug.
Yeah, I know there would be so many people that would I wouldn't say thrive, that's probably a catty way of saying it, but, like, they'd have their comeback body, and they'd be
Oh,
like, "Ooh,"
yes.
date mode and whatever, and I did not have that.
No.
I was drinking so much and smoking, and I was trashing my body. trashing. And
Yeah.
it was all just a distraction. It was just
Yeah.
or watching stupid TV on my weekends that, my kids were with their dad. I would just watch, Jersey Shore.
Yes.
What am I
Yes.
doing? Like,
I
how is
know.
that helpful? But, okay, so what do you think is a helpful thing for to start? Like, if
Mm.
nobody if somebody is in a place where they have not done this self-discovery or, like, what read a book? Like, where do
Oh
they
my
start?
gosh. Yeah, this is a great question. Okay, well, first of all, I started in Barnes and Noble and I couldn't find the dang book. Okay? I spent every Saturday, I was like, this is going to be the Saturday where I find it. I'd go to that section. I would walk up and down. I was looking for that book to hit me in the face that said,
Yeah.
How to Heal and Find Yourself After Divorce. It didn't exist. It didn't exist. Also, I was sitting around thinking to myself, where I don't know if you felt like this. Where in the world are all the other divorced women? I think I'm literally the only one. Now,
I was Catholic going
oh,
to
yeah.
Catholic church with Catholic kids in Catholic school.
Oh
Talk about a
my
scarlet letter.
soul. I got a DVD from my aunt and my uncle, and God bless them. It was like, it came with a little card and it was like, don't give up on yourself yet. God's got your back. And it was like a DVD that you watch to like try to get yourself back in your marriage. And I was like, I'm already divorced. Like it's already, and
It's
I
too
wasn't,
late for me. Save
yeah. And I
yourself.
wasn't even looking for that. I just like wanted somebody to come over and put their arms around me and be like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay that you made this choice or that the road has led you here. You're not going to be here forever. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel angry. So, to anybody listening, I would say your first step is just start noticing when you're distracting yourself. Don't judge it. If you're doing all the things that Dawn and I just said and more, like taking the naps, drinking the things, eating the things. You can even like over exercise. I would run for hours. I would run for hours and then binge and then drink. I would party my pants off and pretend that I was someone that I wasn't. Like, I got this. I even
Yeah.
started dating. I started the Tinder app like way back when it was first like a whole thing. And I was in no place to be doing any of that. I was just distracting myself. So just notice what your distractors are. Notice that you're doing it. And then ask yourself, what do I need right now? What do I need right now? And your brain is probably going to say, oh, that's easy. I need more pizza. I need more Netflix. I need more naps. But then slow down because your busy
Mhm.
brain is at play. We have to get quiet enough to hear the truth of our intuition. And that actually exists in our bodies. And I know that that feels like a very foreign place and space for so many people because we're taught to figure things out with our brain. We're taught that from birth through all of our education. Here is the formula. Use your calculator, type it in, figure it out, and here's the answer. Unfortunately, our intuition is super soft and it's super quiet, but it holds so much knowledge and so much truth, but we're never taught how to access that. We're never
Or to
taught how to
trust
access
it.
that
I think it's really
or to
hard
trust
to
it.
trust your instinct because you have so much self-doubt. And you just don't feel good about yourself when you're in the middle of a divorce. You don't feel strong. And so
Yes,
the little voice, it's hard to follow it when you don't
it
trust
is.
what's happening around you.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I heard this speaker one time and it really brought things home for me. And whenever I talk about trust, I always bring it back to this. So they were having a conversation around, well, how do I trust myself when I picked the wrong person? And maybe
Mhm.
I have a bad picker and all these things. They're all just BS stories that we've created to try to make sense out of things.
Right.
But the reality is you don't know if it's going to happen again. We can't guarantee that that's not going to happen again. We can't guarantee that the person that you're going to choose has anything to do with your choices or that they're going to grow and evolve with you, right? We just do what feels good for right now sometimes. So the best thing that we can do is figure out who we really are and make sure that we are loving ourselves to the level that we need to be loved. So what I realized is after I got divorced, oh my gosh, I'm only loving myself at about a 60%, which is why I'm
Mm.
trying to make my body better and trying to do all these things and be a certain way and act a certain way. So when I started figuring out how to love myself to a 100%, or let's call it 95%,
Mhm.
right? Then I was able to receive love at a 95%. But if I'm only loving myself at a 60%, I can only receive up to a 60%. And that blows my mind. So the
Right.
way that we trust ourselves more is by starting to activate, in my opinion, we start activating actions or activities and making promises to ourselves. So I started by making my bed. I never used to make my bed. And I would say to myself, okay, you're going to make your bed every day. I still to this day make my bed because of that action that I took. So I'd get out of bed and there was no expectations on making the bed. Be very
Right.
careful here. There's no like 2.5 pillows and all the throws and all the things and perfect flat sheets. It was like you made the bed and all the pillows are on it, right? Doesn't
Right.
matter. And so every day I would do that. Okay. And then I would say, I'm going to do 5 minutes in the morning for myself. Some days that was reading, some days that was breathing, some days that was moving my body, just 5 minutes, right? Don't make the goal so unattainable that you can't trust yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, 5 minutes. And so I would add these little things in. And one of them was like, I'm going to stop pressing snooze. I'm going to set my alarm for the time that I'm good, that I actually want to get up.
Mhm.
So I started layering in these things and I call them self certainty practices. And when we set a promise, make a promise, and we show up to it, we make a little deposit to what I call the trust bank. And every time you make a deposit to that bank, it grows just like your money does, bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And you become richer and richer and richer in trust. But what happens when our bully brain gets in the way and it tells us things like, you're not good enough and you should have tried harder? It makes a withdrawal. So, really monitoring the bully thoughts and replacing them with bestie thoughts. And this is not false, these aren't false
Mhm.
things, right? We're not saying when we're so sad and depleted, I'm so happy, I'm so happy, I'm so happy. We're not saying that. We can say things like, I'm in the process of creating a path that's happier for me. I'm in the process of is a really powerful change statement. So we can say things like that. We can also say things like, you know what? I'm feeling really sad today, and I'm going to honor that part of me, right? Rather than
Mhm.
ignoring it and numbing it out with alcohol or, whatever it is that we talked about earlier. You know what? I feel really sad today, and I'm just going to honor that. I'm going to feel that, and I'm going to be okay with it because that part of me needs me right now. So I don't even know what your original question was. I went off on a super duper tangent, but
No, I absolutely loved that. That is so relevant to everyone. That has man,
mm,
woman, child, not divorcing. That is just life. Like
yeah,
having that belief in yourself and the love for yourself to start your day off right. And
yeah.
I love that bank and knowing that at any time you take something out of it, you're taking something out of yourself. You're taking away from building a better you. And so I just think that's phenomenal. That is awesome. Good
Can
job.
you imagine? Can you imagine? And this is why most people feel stuck, right? They don't even have awareness around the withdrawals. They
Mhm.
forget that it's been a while since I've made a deposit, which is why, again, making those dates and those little pockets of time and honoring those to whatever it is that you need and finding a way rather than an excuse, finding a way to make that space for yourself. Can you imagine just withdrawal, 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 withdrawal for
Mhm.
years and years and years? And finally, you're just like, I'm exhausted. I'm spent. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm over it. I guess I better just get rid of this thing.
Yeah,
And
right.
you just, and you're out. You're like, peace out. Can't even handle it. Well, it's because you haven't made any withdrawals in a really long time, or you're relying on someone or something outside of yourself to make the withdrawals for you. And that's where we get in this resentment loop. I know I got
Mhm.
there. I was like, and I would never communicate these things, but I
Mhm.
would be like, he's taking me for granted. Look, he doesn't even care that I did that or this or that or da, 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 da. Rather than that, we can say things in loving, compassionate ways like, you know what? It would mean so much to me if we would do this together. Or
Mhm.
if you would do this. Is there anything that I could do for you that would make you feel the same way? That's like equal contribution to a relationship, but we don't know what we don't know. And so then we
Right.
just live in this place of bankruptcy
Mhm.
in our trust bucket or our love bucket or whatever those buckets or banks are, and living from that place of bankruptcy, how does that feel? Like if we were bankrupt in our money, we start losing things. We start losing
Right.
our possessions and our house and things like that. Um, and when we feel bankrupt emotionally, we start losing our mental wellness,
Mhm.
our soul's wellness. Like our well-being is at stake when we're emotionally bankrupt.
Yeah. Well, and when you were in that bookstore and you were thinking, where are all the divorced women at? You kind of have to, as cheesy as this sounds, you kind of have to be the person that you're looking for. Say the things to yourself that you need to hear. You can hug yourself. It might feel like the most jacked up thing in the world to do it, but we all need a hug. And sometimes you just have to say those things to yourself that you
Yeah.
need to hear from somebody else. Because
Yeah.
sometimes you're all you have, if you don't have a
Yes.
peer group that's going through it, or maybe your parents aren't supportive of you going through a divorce and you can't talk to them about it. You
Yeah.
have to be there for yourself. That's who you wake up with, that's who you go to bed with. Like we
Yep.
are all we have in the grand scheme
Yeah.
of things. So you really have to say to yourself what you need to hear from somebody else.
Oh my gosh, you absolutely need to be able to do that. I will tell you that that is the one saving grace of all the work that I've done for the past 10 years in the healing space for myself is that I'm not scared anymore of losing people. I'm not scared of losing a relationship, whether or not the one that I'm in lasts. Like, I think it will. I feel real good about the relationship I'm in. I don't see that going anywhere or changing, but I'm not in control completely. There are other things like it's a partnership, just like in a friendship. Friendships come and go. And sometimes
Mhm.
we're so devastated by those things. And we're like, what happened? What did I do? We tried to, but it's a reason, a season, we don't always have to figure it out. We just have to know that if we're okay with how we're being and we're still aligned with our values and we still really love how we're growing, then it's okay that distance itself. So I'm just not afraid to lose a relationship again. And I don't say that in a way like, take it or leave it, but I
Yeah.
really feel like because also the other thing is I could if you've chosen to get married again or I know you're on your second marriage, that's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing. We're not guaranteed that relationship to last, be it divorce or separation, but also in death.
Yeah.
Like we are no one is guaranteed tomorrow and I don't wish that on anyone, but at some point like, we lose our partners, and so love is such a delicate dance, and I know it's scary to trust again, but the real trust is, like, the risk is in love. That's why love feels so expansive and so amazing is because your risk level is enormous, but you only can feel that amount of expansiveness with that amount of risk. And you don't feel one without the other. So, if you felt the lowest of lows and you felt depleted, well, congratulations. You are now expansive enough on one spectrum of the emotions to feel this crazy, like expansiveness when it comes to love. And you don't need to be in a romantic relationship for that. You can feel that
Right.
expansive amount of love with your kids or with your friends or with your parents, but all kinds of love require risk. And that's where we have to just trust ourselves that we can handle it if that love doesn't last as long as we hoped it would, no matter what the circumstances. But it starts with our deep self love.
That's such a great message. I love that. Did you okay, so you have your podcast. Has there been an episode that stood out that you just were like got something big out of, or just your very favorite episode that you've done so far that you just
Oh my
really are proud
gosh.
of?
There are truly, truly so many.
They're hard to pick. They
It's
are.
like the greatest gift. If I knew you were going to ask this, I could have actually like looked back and gone, oh yeah. But the one that's standing out, I'm just going to say it because it's
Mhm.
standing out. My 100th episode, I really wanted to have a special guest. And I was like, who can I have? Who can I have? Can I have Oprah? Like, how big can I grow? You know what I mean?
Wow.
Like, who should I go for? And then I swear I just got really present and my intuitive knowing just said, your mom. And so my mom, came on, and my mom was terrified. She's like, "You want me to be on your podcast?" But she's the most supportive person I've ever met in my life. And she was like, "Of course I'll do it. What does that mean? How do I prepare? Blah, blah, blah."
Yeah.
And I was like, "No, mom, like you and I have the best conversations whenever I'm home. My mom and I always go on long walks together. We always talk about life. We talk about her friends and my friends and like how they kind of relate, even though she's older and I'm
Mhm.
younger. Like we just love having these conversations about just everything in life." So I said, "No, we're just gonna like do that." And so we had just the coolest conversation, and I'm so glad that I have it recorded because now I can listen to it for the rest of my life, and it's
Yeah.
really sincere and genuine and special, and she's so wise, and I think it showed her that she could trust herself too in the moment without
Mhm.
being rehearsed to just, like, be really present with me and trust me, and, to have her show up like that so courageously outside of her comfort zone reminded me, like, we all get to do that for ourselves, like, I believe a huge part of healing is learning to be more comfortable in the discomfort, in the unknown. Like the
Right.
unknown space gets to be a playground of curiosity. And if we learn, when we learn how to do that, life doesn't have to feel as scary. It
Mhm.
gets to just feel like an invitation to play and to learn more and to gather lessons. And it's just like, it's so cool to be a human when you've got the tools to do it right.
Oh, yeah. I forget, I heard some quote and it was something like, "People don't know how to differentiate the feeling of fear and of excitement." So it might not necessarily be that you're scared to do something. It actually might be that you're excited. You're excited, not like of bees or, home invasion,
Yes.
but, just like
Yes.
things that like going on the stage or meeting up new people, going to a party where you don't know anybody. That feeling of fear and anxiety that might feel like it's building up, it might actually be excitement. You just
Yeah.
are misreading it.
And
But
most of the times it's both, and when you feel both, that's when you wanna lean in.
Mhm.
That is a true telltale that this is a moment for your growth and expansion. So if you're just feeling fear, okay, that's remember our bodies, it's just information. We're constantly getting all this information, all these downloads. But where we go wrong is we start making stories out of it. But if we just go, "Oh, that's information. I'm feeling sad. What do I need right now? Oh, I'm feeling angry. What do I need right now? Oh, I'm feeling joy. What is this all about?" It's just information. So I think it's really cool when we get scared, we can go, "Oh, this is information. Is it a bear? No, it's not a bear. Oh, it's not a bear. Okay. Am I excited about this thing? Could I be excited about this thing? Right? I think I might be excited about this thing, but I'm so scared. Okay, cool. This is the magic moment. This is the magic potion for you to lean in and be courageous. Like courage and curiosity are your 2 magical tools when it comes to creating your comeback. Because I don't believe that anybody needs to try to be fearless. I think we need to take that fear and excitement and be courageous and just lean in and
Yeah.
just be curious. Like, what's this gonna be like? I don't know what it's gonna be like to step out on stage. I have never done it before. I've never been divorced before. I've never, it started had another job before other than this, da, da, da.
Right.
So, what if you've never done it before and you feel fear and excitement? Oh my gosh, that is the golden buzzer on America's Got Talent. Hit that thing, let the confetti go, and just be excited to be surprised and delighted. Like, expect to be surprised and delighted and see what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Mic drop. That was great. I love it. So tell everybody how they can find you, whether they want your podcast or they want your coaching. Where are you at?
Oh my gosh, I love to connect with people, whatever you're going through in life. At Divorce Comeback Coach, so you don't have to be divorced. Send me a message. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know what you're interested in. If you want to hear my voice a little bit more, if you like what we're talking about, over on Divorce Comeback Coach, we're on Apple, we're on Spotify, we're everywhere. And then if you want to know more about the programs, I have a 3-month coaching course and community that helps women navigate life after divorce. We do it together and we kick off in September of this year. It's in the fall every year. It's 3 months long. You get the tools and resources and me live and a voice note app that we talk to each other like all day long. So it's awesome. You can do that at DivorceComebackCoach.com. So everything's at Divorce Comeback Coach.
I love it. Heidi, I loved talking to you. You're so inspirational and positive, and your message, like I said, it doesn't matter if you're going through a divorce, just the whole meaning behind it of wanting to have that new chapter be what you want it to be. You're the
Yeah.
creator. Nobody else is making it for you. You create it. So I love it. Thank you
Yes.
so much for being on the podcast. It's
Th-
just been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. I love your show. I love that it's a variety of topics so that people can just bop in, drop in, and get whatever taste they need that day. It's awesome. You're the best.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right. Bye bye.